we elected the most dangerous criminal human being, corrupt human being that America has ever elected. And Kevin, you helped him.
Stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes, I get it. Sure.
No
one is figuring out.
Yeah, that's right. I think you guys are bad people who are bad. Yes, are bad for the country. Yes, that's right. Who attacked the Constitution.
Stop.
Donald Trump.
Stop.
Yeah, people.
Stop.
Yes,
no,
that's right.
This is what they do.
Because most of our people listening to this are Democrats who are miserable, who are depressed, who cut off the news, who are talking to 3 therapists a day.
When Republicans lose, we never say we have to have therapy.
You just say you didn't lost. You just say you didn't lose.
You're out of touch with the public. This election was a rejection of wokeness, and every state went more red except Nebraska and Washington State.
Things got super heated during the 2024 election panel discussion at the New York Times Deal Book Summit. But there were a ton of important and, in my opinion, valuable points made during this discussion, which I definitely want to talk about here. Now, when it comes to one of the panelists, Van Jones, he made a lot of great points, and we're going to go to those videos and show you those great points in just a minute. But unfortunately, he made one disastrous point. And I just want to get that out of the way because, Van, what are you doing? Let's watch.
The other thing that we were able to do with Kamala on the doors was Donald Trump's a little baby billionaire. He's a little billionaire. You want to be rich? You're a young black man. You want to be an owner? You want to be an entrepreneur? You want to be a provider? Why are you following this little baby billionaire? Kamala Harris represents real billionaires. She represents California. She represents the biggest, hold on a second, the biggest bunch of billionaires in the world. Vote for her and donate to her. And so then you begin to link into the aspirations of these young men who don't like what Donald Trump says, but they like what he's been able to do with his life.
That was bad. That was really bad. And if you guys caught it in the very beginning, he's referring to what they were messaging while canvassing for Kamala Harris. People don't love billionaires, okay? That's not what is appealing about Donald Trump, that he's a billionaire, right? What's appealing about Donald Trump is he pretends like he fights against the corruption and the billionaires.
Yeah, that was the great irony of Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That they're, in my opinion, oftentimes pretending to be populist while they're actually, well, Trump's not even a billionaire, but while they're spectacularly wealthy, right? But the lesson you got out of this election is, let's highlight how much billionaires love the Democratic Party. You could not have learned a more wrong lesson. Literally impossible. The very worst lesson to learn.
Absolutely, but I want to be fair to Van Jones because throughout the entire conversation, he was actually making really great points, including what you're about to hear. So just to kind of set this up, Jones was making a point about how there is a disconnect between, young voters who tend to get their information from various platforms versus older voters who usually rely on traditional legacy media outlets. And what I love about the clip you're about to watch is the pushback he gets from Alexis McGill Johnson, who is the president from Planned Parenthood. Take a look.
I asked I got a teenage son, I asked him, who are the most influential people in the world today? I'm thinking to myself, he's gonna say Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z. He says, Kai Cent, Aiden Ross, Jinxie, and Sketch. I don't know who he's talking about. I said, what platforms are you on? He goes, I'm on Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. I said, that sounds like you need to go to the hospital. What are these platforms? I'm telling you guys, the mainstream has become fringe, and the fringe has become mainstream.
As an organization that reaches millions of people every single day to have conversations around bodily autonomy, we are all on digital, right? So the idea that the Harris campaign was not on digital, that the IEs like Future Forward were not on digital and spending millions of dollars to reach those folks, to hire influencers, to bring them to the DNC, right? And have a totally different kind of outreach to young folks and people of color much differently than we have seen in the past. It doesn't mean that we need to know who Cenk and Please and all the folks are, but they are out there and they are having those conversations.
Okay, I mean, look, I completely disagree with Johnson. This notion of we don't need to understand anything about the zeitgeist or where people are getting their news or information. We can spend millions of dollars to hire those online influencers to do the work for us. Yeah. How did that work out for you? I can't believe she said that, but what do you think, Cenk?
Oh no, that was hilarious. That was one of the funniest things that's ever happened. So first of all, I love that moment where Van Jones, has an epiphany, but is mainly trying to force others into that epiphany. Guys, we think we're, the central point of this country, right? And everybody cares what we think, and what we say is the most important thing. But while we weren't paying attention, we became the fringe. People aren't even listening to us anymore. They're actually listening to the guys that we think are hilarious. Like, who are these people? Like, what are they, Ren and Stimpy? Right? I mean, we still get that to this day. I've been, we were the first partner for YouTube. We're the original YouTubers. My God, back in the day, for the last 20 years, YouTube, right? Like anything will come out of YouTube. Well, what happened now? Now you guys are the tiny fringe, and I love it. I'm here for it. Because you guys suck.
But like
you support the rich and the powerful and the establishment that we all despise. That's why you were overturned. That's why people said, "Oh, I hate those guys. They're a bunch of liars. Let me go listen to some other folks." And they listened to some folks that led them astray, and they listened to some folks that made sense. But now we're in an actual marketplace of ideas, and not just like the tiny guardrails that the establishment media have. Oh, you're a Republican? Do you love corporations? Good. Do you Democrat? Love corporations? Good. You don't love corporations? Get out of here, you radical, you lefty, righty loser. Get him out of here, that stupid populist. Okay? So, but my favorite was, but we hired a whole bunch of influencers.
Oh my God, I know.
And we had those people parrot our talking points. And and we had our robotic politician go out and go, I have my talking points. I am now talking to an influencer that has my talking points as well. And this is going to be how we do online media. Yeah, good luck with that crap.
God, we hired Harry Sisson. Are you guys still complaining? What are you complaining about? By the way, I don't know if they actually hired. We don't know. But but we do know, even before that admission we just heard, that they were hiring influencers, and they thought that that was the digital outreach they needed to do to get young people on board. By the way, how about you actually offer policies that would be appealing to young people, get them jazzed up about showing up to vote for you. But anyway, let's move on to more of the discussion. I know we're focusing a lot on Van Jones, and there were approximately, let me do the count, 38 people on that panel. But Van Jones really did stand out to me. He did make a lot of good points. Here's another one.
We pushed all our rebels out of this party. We had a rebellion in our party in 2016. It was called Bernie Sanders. You had a rebellion in your party in 2016. It was called Donald Trump. Your rebel won. Our rebel lost. And then since then, the rebels in our party have been pushed out. RFK was a rebel inside of our party. He wanted to run against Joe Biden fair and square. The DNC wouldn't let him. Pushed him out. You can walk down the list. Don't forget, Elon Musk was a Andrew Yang Democrat 4 years ago. He's out. You can walk down the list. Joe Rogan was very favorable toward Michelle Obama. He was a Bernie guy. He's out. So there's something that's happened in this party where the rebels in this party no longer feel like they have a place, and we've got to be able to talk about that stuff honestly.
I think he makes a really great point. And Donald Trump for the right really is a rebellious figure, especially because he took a party that was really known for its neoconservatism and clowned on it. And I think that brought in a lot of people who actually previously voted for Democrats, previously voted for Barack Obama, for instance. Yeah. Or in the case of 2016, I know for a fact that there were individuals who voted for Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary, saw what they did to Bernie Sanders in the 2016 Democratic primary, and decided to vote for the one other anti-establishment person, and that was Donald Trump.
Yeah. So look, A lot of people love to beat up on Van Jones, and there's a reason for that, because he's the only one that actually has different opinions. And he's the one that's closest to a populist. That's why that point about the billionaires was so ironic, right?
Totally.
But when you have different opinions, sometimes you'll miss like that one, right? And I give a lot of grace to that. Because then his other opinions were terrific, and he's the only one on that panel saying it. So a point about the outsiders is indisputable. And so the Democratic Party, will they learn that lesson? Even Anita Dunn in that discussion was like, oh, we've got to learn some lessons in responding to Van, et cetera. Like, you're not gonna learn any lessons. The lesson you're gonna learn is, hey, let's put Pete Buttigieg in a flannel shirt, and that way he'll seem like more of a populist. And Gavin Newsom, instead of going to French Laundry, maybe we'll have him pretend to do his own laundry at home, and that way they'll be populist. No. You're not getting it. Handing a new script to the same actors is not change.
100%, yes, I totally agree. That's the problem, the actors, right? The elitists within the Democratic Party that have now been associated with the Democratic Party's brand. So when, we did a story earlier this week in regard to progressives in Congress and how they're trying to get the DNC to go back to its roots as a working class party. The Democrats go back to its roots as a working class party. The problem isn't just the messaging. It's the policies that are promised, the policies that are promised and are never delivered, and more importantly, the various prominent figures within the Democratic Party that are just oozing elitism and disdain for working class Americans. And when I think of someone as snakish as Gavin Newsom, I don't think, a warrior for the working class, hell no. But what do we hear from the Democratic establishment in regard to who the likely candidates will be in the primary for the next election? Right, we hear about Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro. I know you kind of like him, I don't. It's just more of the same.
Yeah. Look, Josh Shapiro pick is in the context of Kamala Harris as an establishment person. Like, I didn't even consider that she would that it was like, I know Tim Walz is a possibility, but I was shocked that she picked him. Right. So that's when you're forced to fish in the establishment pool. But in a 2028 primary, we're not forced to do that at all.
Oh, okay, I get it. So you mean in that particular context?
Yeah, of course.
Got it.
If you remember, I was saying like, hey, Biden has dementia. And it's super obvious. We're past the point where a progressive can get in and really do a real run.
Right.
I said anybody, any functioning human being other than Biden, because it was in that context where it was already too late. But for 2028, it is not at all too late. We need to run as aggressively as we can a populist candidate and never accept any of those establishment actors. But now the main point I wanted to make about, so why would, because nobody in Washington understands this, they say, why would a Bernie Sanders supporter go and support Donald Trump? Their policies are diametrically opposed. And often they are, 80, 90% of the time. Although 10, 20% of the time they're not, as we're seeing now, right? But mainly that's not the reason why at all. So Anna's right about a lot of things that drove people away. So the Democratic establishment they're a bunch of liars. And what's really grating on the nerves is that they're hypocrites, right? So they'll say, oh, we are the moral uprighteous party, okay? We protect the justice system and democracy, right? And like the Republicans stab you from the front, and when the Democrats stab you from the back, it hurts more, and it really drives people crazy. And they are elites. I mean, I was talking to a mainstream media reporter the other day, and I said, look, you folks in mainstream media, you hate the populists, and you have total disdain for us. And he couldn't really disagree, right? Like it'd be absurd to disagree. So if you hate us, I mean, we didn't leave because we care so much about the policies and we're obsessed with the policies. But if you just take normal folks and you go, I hate you, you better get back in line and you better obey. A lot of people are gonna leave because they hate that. That is not a fun thing to deal with. But all of that even pales in comparison to, I think, the number one reason why some folks did that switch. Because with the establishment, there is no hope. So they're never gonna go outside the guardrails. They're never not going to do what the donors want. So if you're populist, I can see how you would get super frustrated and go, look, maybe Trump's a bull in a china shop and maybe he's gonna go the wrong direction 80%, 60% of the time, whatever the number is. But at least there's like a sliver of hope that we're not stuck inside this establishment prison and inside corporate rule that we despise so much. There, I just explained it to you. But of course, don't ever have someone like me on a panel. You might accidentally find out what's real.